I did a wedding last weekend for Mike and Abigail Brown. All right, they're back in the middle. Look at them, just married and glowing. There's this like sunshine around them. It's wild, all right? They love each other. They're excited to be married. The wedding was such a blast. And I said something during my time helping officiate. I actually officiated half of it because Abigail's dad did the other half. And one thing that I said, I actually say at every wedding I have ever done. I looked at Mike and I said, Mike, you have this unique, beautiful reality that you need to realize that Abigail, out of all this world, has chosen you. Out of everyone. Like, she's chosen you. And then I turned to Abigail and I said, Abigail, look, like, how wonderful is this? That out of all the world, Mike has chosen you. And he's like pushing everyone else aside to be yours and you are his. This choosing is significant. And this choosing is a picture of the marriage covenant. It's a promise to God and it's a promise to each other that I have chosen you this day and I will continue to choose you forever, again and again and again. I will choose you for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health. On the good days and the bad days, through thick and through thin, I will choose you again and again and again and again and again and again. I will choose you when it's easy to choose you, and I will choose you on days where it's hard to choose you. Some of you are like, oh, it's never hard to choose your spouse. Just like be married for another minute, okay? There's gonna be days. Luckily, my wife doesn't need to deal with that much with me, right? It's easy for her. But for the rest of us, I'm glad you all laughed. You know I'm full of it. But here, as much as the choosing is significant and weighty and intentional, it is always good. We see in Proverbs chapter 18, verse 22, the father who is writing this wisdom to his son. That's the context of this entire book. A father is trying to show his son how to grow up into be a man. A wise man. He says to his son, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. This means that every time you choose, whether that's the initial choice or whether that's choosing over and over and over again, every time you choose, you're choosing into something good. The father's trying to show his son, hey, marriage is good. Marriage is not the only good thing. It is not the ultimate thing. Hear what he's saying to his son. It is a good thing. And what he's doing is he's echoing Adam in the Garden of Eden. Adam is created by God and he's just surrounded by a bunch of animals. He names them and then suddenly he's like, wait a minute, there's not a helper fit for me here. Like I'm not feeling very like relatable to this wolf. Like the bear's not doing it for me, you know? And God in his kindness puts Adam to sleep, hunks out a rib, and creates Eve. And the joy that hits Adam when he sees her, he says, this at last, bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. He's naming, this is a good thing. And Adam and Eve were in the garden enjoying that good thing together. So we're talking today about wise marriage. And in order to have a wise marriage, you need to choose. You need to have an initial choice, but then you need to choose over and over and over and over again. And here are the two questions I want to ask. Number one, okay, well then what about that initial choice? How do we choose? And the second question I want us to ask is, how do we, once we make that choice, how do we keep choosing? So that is what we're gonna do. Proverbs 31. Proverbs 31 is something that sometimes can get a little tricky. People might have different understandings of what the meaning of this text actually is, but here's what I want you to hear from me. Proverbs 31 is split into two poems about choosing a wife. Now, some may say, wait a minute, isn't this just a personification of Lady Wisdom? Well, sure, you could look at this and be like, hey, there are things from the book of Proverbs that you could actually take from chapter 31 and implement into your life in order to live a wise life. But this is particular to marriage. And the way that you see this is that right in verse 1, the words of King Lemuel, which, by the way, like if you're going to marry a guy, if his name's Lemuel, that's a bummer, okay? It's a bummer. The words of King Lemuel, an oracle that his mother taught him. What's happening is Lemuel is recounting the advice from his wise mother in two poems. And the advice goes like this. It is advice to him directly, and then advice about the woman that he should look for to be his wife. So let me read just a few verses from the very beginning. We're going to look at verse 1 through 4. Then we're going to look at verses 8 and 9. I'm going to read them all together. The words of King Lemuel, an oracle that his mother taught him. What are you doing, my son? What are you doing, son of my womb? What are you doing, son of my vows? Do not give strength to women, your ways to those who destroy kings. It is not for kings, O Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine or for rulers to take strong drink. Jump down to verse 8. Open your mouth for the mute, for the rights of all who are destitute. Open your mouth, judge righteously, defend the rights of the poor. You see, right here, mom is worried for her son. She's worried for her son, and she rebukes him. She's like, what are you doing? She rebukes him, and then she exhorts him. She kind of trying to push him into the man that he should be becoming, because right now, mom is trying to wake him up to his unwise ways, to his foolish ways. Lemuel is using his status and his money to party and to chase women. He is an idiot. There's nothing in him that is actually growing up. And mom is like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you living your life this way? You're running around like a fool instead of learning to be wise. You're running around like a fool instead of opening your mouth for the mute, for the rights of all who are destitute, learning how to judge righteously and defending the rights of the poor. Lemuel is next in line to be king. She's like, you're doing nothing to learn how to be a king, to learn how to be a wise man, but instead you're being a boy. If we were to look at this first poem here in Proverbs 31, the real question that comes out of it is, Lemuel, are you becoming the kind of man that a good, wise woman would want? And would you have the wisdom to recognize a good, wise woman and treasure her if you were to find her? Those are the questions. That's the question there. Hey, Lemuel, are you doing your work so that you could be the kind of man that actually would honor and love and respect a woman? But also, are you doing your work to even identify what woman that could be? You know, Kate and I, you've heard this. I only have one story, so bear with me, okay? I tell you guys things a lot, the same things a lot. But Kate and I started dating when she was 15 and I was 16. And I remember sitting in my living room with a group of teenagers that I was discipling at the time back in New Jersey. And Kate and I had been married for a couple of years at that point. And I was sitting there and all these boys are going around. They're just talking about the girls that they're coming after and that they're trying to like take out for whatever, however you take out a girl as a teenager, right? To go like, I don't know, what do you do? Like laser tag? I don't know. But anyway, maybe that's old. But anyway, I remember saying to these guys, hey, listen guys, relax a bit. Your main concern should not be who you should be dating right now. Your main concern should be like to grow up, to become wise so that you could become a man. You're distracted by these things. And one kid, who is now a pastor. Actually, I love this guy. He said to me, he said, wow, you're a hypocrite. I was like, oh, wait. I realize I might sound like a hypocrite. But I started dating Kate, and something miraculous happened to where we stayed together and we're now married. But let me tell you the stories of healing that had to happen from how I hurt her because of my own teenage idiocy and boyishness. Like, thank God we have a healthy marriage now, and things are really good. And I'm grateful to say that. And I'm honest when I say that. But the work that we had to do to kind of dig myself back out of the hole that I dug as a teenager, dating this woman, it was silly. It was not wise. So when it comes to finding a spouse, there's this primary question that Lemuel's mom is getting at. Who are you becoming? Are you becoming the kind of man, and we could flip this on its head and look at this on the other side too. Are you becoming the kind of man that a good, wise woman would want? Are you becoming the kind of woman that a good, wise man would want? And would you have the wisdom to recognize a good, wise man or woman and treasure them when you find them? It starts with you. You got to do your work first. And I'll tell you what, dating apps make this pretty hard. I haven't had to play in that pool, which I'm really glad for, all right? For those of you who have, I just have respect for you, but judging your entire future on a picture is tough, and it's a problem. Because at the end of this proverb, chapter 31, we see that charm and beauty, they're deceitful. Proverbs 11, chapter 22, says it even more clearly. Like a gold ring in a pig's snout is a beautiful woman without discretion. Looks do not show character. If we're swiping left or right on just somebody's face, it's like, what are we doing? We're gambling. So Lemuel's mother says, hey, you want a great spouse? Cool. There's nothing wrong with that. It's actually beautiful. She wants him to have a good spouse because a king should have one. But she says, work on becoming wise. And how does one become wise? We need to go to the very foundations of wisdom that we talked about back in September. Proverbs 1, I'm messing that up today. Chapter 1, verse 7 says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. If you're going to try to get after wisdom, you need to fear the Lord. To fear the Lord isn't to be like, oh, scared. To fear the Lord is to revere the Lord. And it continues, fear the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. She's saying, hey, what are you doing? You are despising wisdom. You're despising instruction. Man up. Do your work. Become the kind of man that a good woman would want, and become the kind of man that could actually identify a good woman who's worthy to be a wife. Ladies, the same is true for you. But here's the second part of chapter 31. So if we ask the question, how do we choose? Well, number one, we need to work on becoming wise. But two, what do we actually look for? It's not bad to look. It's not bad to look. We see a full explanation on what to look for. Now, before we talk about this explanation, here's what I want you to hear. This is more of an obituary than it is a Hinge profile. It's not like, hey, here are my achievements. I've accomplished all these things. This is more the lifetime work of a wise woman. It's probably a picture of Lemuel's mother at the end of her life saying, look at all that I've done. These examples are actually more typical, not constant. They are meant to give us clues into some qualities and characteristics into the man or woman that we are or should be after when it comes to the one we desire to marry. Like you could look at someone and you could say, hey, this man is lazy. He's lazy. He hates his job. Like all he does for fun is go drink with his buddies and he sits on his video game all night long. Like if those are the three like top descriptions of a man, what I would say is he's not on the path to wisdom. He is stupid. None of those things in and of themselves are bad, but when they are the primary qualification, do you think they're on the path to wisdom? No. Some of you feel nervous because you're like, oh, Rich is anti-video game. No, go play a video game. Like have your hobby. I smoked a cigar and read yesterday after I cleaned up my yard. That's a hobby I do. I should maybe do something a little bit more active, but that's a different story, different sermon. I'm not anti-hobby, but we're asking the question of what puts a man or woman who we may have in sight for, hey, we want to date this person, figure them out, and see if they're the right person. Are they on the path to wisdom? Does that seem like the wise life? Here's the description that Lemuel's mom gives. Verse 10, an excellent wife who can find? She is far more precious than jewels. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not harm all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and works with willing hands. She is like the ships of the merchant. She brings her food from afar. She rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household and portions for her maidens. She considers the field and buys it. With the fruit of her hands, she plants a vineyard. She dresses herself with strength and makes her arms strong. She perceives that her merchandise is profitable. Her lamp does not go out at night. She puts her hands to the distaff and her hands hold the spindle. She opens her hand to the poor and reaches out her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of snow for her household. For all her household are clothed in scarlet. She makes bed coverings for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them. She delivers sashes to the merchant. Strength and dignity are her clothing. And she laughs at the time to come. I love that. She laughs at the time to come. She's not anxious, right? She's not anxious about everything. She laughs at the future. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. She looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and they call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women have done excellently, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands and let her works praise her in the gates. This is the picture of a wise woman. And all these characteristics, reminder, are not all the characteristics that you need to have lined up in the person you're looking for. But are they on the path? Like you heard me mention how she laughs at the time to come. Oh, well, can I marry someone who is a little anxious sometimes? Yes. But are they working towards seeking the Lord in their anxiety? Are they doing things to help themselves as much as they possibly can? As something that is really many people just can't get a handle of on their own. This woman works hard. She lives charitably. She's industrious. She's thoughtful. She's respected. She's courageous. She's valiant. She's self-aware. She's dignified. We're not looking to check all of the boxes, but we are asking the question, is the person that I am looking for to potentially be my spouse on this path? And the very foundation of being on this path can be seen in verse 30. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain. Let's just take all of the superficial things and put them into that category. Money in their pocket is vain. The way that they look is vain. How flirty they could be and smooth talking they are, charm, is vain. But what matters? A woman who fears the Lord, she's to be praised. The very foundation of wisdom is fearing the Lord. This begs the question, should I even date somebody who isn't a Christian? Well, there's nothing in the Bible that says you shouldn't, but there's wisdom that says that would be silly. Because if you're dating them and then they eventually become this person that you want to marry, would you even be able to? If we are looking to choose someone to marry, we work on ourselves and our own fear of the Lord. If, as we're looking, we look for the foundational principle of being a wise person. Do they fear the Lord? Do they genuinely have faith in God? Because by having faith in God and by pursuing God, there is a natural drawing to wisdom. So number one, what do you do when you're looking to choose somebody to be a spouse? You work on becoming wise and you look for a wise person. A lot of us in here are married. A lot of us in here want to be married. A lot of us in here have weddings on the calendar. If faith is the wise soil that a loving covenant grows deep in, it actually allows for that union, that couple to say, hey, God is first in what we long for. God is the center of everything that we are going after. Like, we put our marriage under the lordship of Jesus Christ, not like because he is Lord and because he deserves it, but also because he gives us abundant life, fullness of life. This is John 10 stuff. Like, he actually gives us all that we need to flourish and become wise. An example of a God-first marriage, one where faith is the foundation, is just like living life seeking what God wants. And you might stumble and fall and kind of skip up here and like stumble over here, but God's going to meet you with grace and you're going to continue on the right path. If you're in this room and you didn't start this way, here's the good news. The God of the Bible is the God of new beginnings. Here's the really good news. Like, he has grace for you. I've been reading Hosea because we're going to preach on Hosea next week. And like, the people of God, how often throughout the scriptures just turn their back on God despite his faithfulness, and him in his kindness keeps pursuing them with his steadfast, unfailing love. If you're in a marriage right now where there's one of you that is following Jesus and things feel strong, but the other one isn't, or if you're both kind of new to it, listen, God wants to bring life into your marriage. So you keep praying that way, keep taking steps towards that. That is a God-first marriage. And you might think, well, Rich, have you read any research? Faith might not be enough. Sure. Okay. We don't have enough time to cover everything. This should be a series, but it's a week. Bear with me, okay? Here's one thing I do know. Faith does produce fruit. It's not just like faith is the ground and then you like walk around paralyzed the rest of your life. No, faith produces things inside of you, inside of your relationships, inside of you as a person. But without faith, there is no fruit and no chance at true wisdom. But here's what I want to say. Faith is essential. Don't buy into all of the bogus claims that Christian marriages are just like the rest. Because here's what happens. And there's like, if you need the research and you need the book, talk to me, because I'll buy it for you, all right? We tend to kind of put categorically all of the stats about marriage, like Christian marriage as opposed to the rest of the marriages, right? Not faith-oriented marriages. We put under the Christian marriage umbrella, everybody who calls themselves a Christian. You ever meet somebody who calls themselves a Christian, but they're never in church and there's actually nothing different about their lives? If we actually look statistically at Christian marriages where people, like if there's some identifiers, like they go to church at least 3 times a month, they are in a traditional Christian marriage setting, they are reading their Bible like, I think the bar's really low, like 2 times a week. Like so when you start to look at these kinds of people, that the people who are going out and getting these stats would call devout, things drastically change. I'm not really interested in name-only Christianity, and you shouldn't be either. Gosh, it's a brutal, arduous life where you just like call yourself a Christian, try to follow some Christian rules, but have none of the life of Christ in you. Rough, especially rough in a marriage. But Brad Wilcox puts out some like summary statements on all of these stats on Christian marriage pertaining to those who would fall into the devout category. Like they're all in. They're into the church, they're following Jesus, and their lives are showing examples of that. Number one, faith is the strongest predictor of marital quality compared to other factors like ideology and education and race and income. Number two, women who regularly attend church are 50% less likely to divorce. Number three, men with faith are less likely to be unfaithful. They're less likely to give themselves to things like pornography. They're more likely to establish guardrails to protect their marriage and to protect their wives. They receive top marks from wives for two things in particular, provision and attentiveness. Number four, couples with faith are, quote, significantly happier in their marriage and less likely to end up in divorces and more satisfied with their lives. And if you get into the statistics on how these marriages flow into the lives of their children are more likely to flourish as well. And number five, couples with faith outscore the average couple at displaying, and I quote Brad Wilcox, sexual generosity. How's that for puritanical? Faith is essential. If we give ourselves to faith in God, our marriages tend to flourish. But what grows out of this faith? How do we keep choosing? Proverbs 12:11 actually gives us an idea of this, that like when we are given something, we need to work it. Whoever works his land will have plenty of bread, but he who follows worthless pursuits lacks sense. This is pertaining particularly to money, but the thing about Proverbs is sometimes it can actually transfer over and be related to other things in life. Like married people, the land you've been given is your marriage. Work it. If you don't work it, if you're kind of like, oh, well, like all we got to worry about is our faith. No. Faith produces things. A healthy marriage, actually, the choosing doesn't stop on wedding day. It continues over and over and over again. So I want to get practical with 4 things that you could choose into over and over and over again. And listen, this is like a short list. If you're like feeling like a little bit, maybe this is like not a supercharged time in your marriage, or maybe it's not like you're just feeling a little at odds, or maybe if things are healthy, if you want to, over the next month, Proverbs has 31 chapters, like read with your spouse all through Proverbs and ask God to give you wisdom. I think significant things could happen there. Well, let me give you 4 things you can keep choosing into. The first thing you keep choosing into is honor. Honoring your spouse. We looked at this verse earlier, but Proverbs 31:30 says, charm is deceitful, beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Like praised, honor, affirmation. These are important in marriage. We don't worship our spouse, but who else builds them up better than you? Husbands, do you take that proverb seriously? Do you name the good things in your wife, little or big? Do you name them to her? Do you praise her for that? Do you breathe life into her by saying, hey, this is really good, and I see it in you? Wives, do you name the good things about your husband? Do you name that to build them up, to honor them? Because good things that you see in your spouse are worthy of praise. I know there's some households where like a kind word and affirmation is really hard to come by. Guess what that sounds like? Foolish. If your house is only full of dishonor, or if you're really particular about how much you want to show honor to your spouse, That's foolish. And dishonor is what you will draw out. If you give affirmation to your spouse, that's only going to lead to elevation of your relationship. Proverbs 18:21 says, death and life are in the power of the tongue. What are you speaking into your spouse? What are you speaking into your marriage? To start honoring your spouse, if this isn't something that's common, if this is something you struggle with, to start honoring them and being genuine and not just flattering begins with growing in some gratefulness for your spouse. I told you earlier that men, when you're given a wife, it's a good thing. Grow in gratefulness. Start to just be amazed at the goodness of God in this other person. Stop comparing them to other wives. Stop comparing to other husbands. Stop comparing to other people in your workplace. If you want joy to be stolen from you, compare your spouse to everybody around you, because if you look for something better, you will find it, because your brain will tell you you found it. And you're on the fast track to misery. Growing in gratefulness for your spouse will let you begin to honor them. But if you compare, and if you are not grateful, you're just going to end up being envious of other things that you want them to be. Proverbs 14:30 says, a tranquil heart gives life to the flesh, but what envy makes the bones rot. You feel that in your soul. The very opposite of honor is not only comparison, but it's also expecting something out of your spouse that only God can give you. This is something I really had to learn in the beginning of my marriage. Kate cannot, this whole idea, you complete me, she can't complete me. She's just a mere human. I put so much expectation on her that I was crushing her because I wanted her to do all of these things. She can't heal my boyhood wounds. She can't make me less secure. She wasn't at the control center of my body, of my emotions. She couldn't do any of that. I can't rely on her for that. How dishonoring when I am throwing these expectations in her face and she can't actually live up to them because she wasn't made to. To honor your spouse, the doorway in is gratefulness. The doorway out is comparison and throwing expectations on them that only God can answer. If you keep throwing expectations on your wife or your husband that are not possible, you're constantly shouting, you are not enough. Another thing we can keep choosing into is grace. Proverbs 17:9 says, love prospers when a fault is forgiven, but dwelling on it separates close friends. Graceless marriages lead to misery. When you do not have grace in your marriage, you will be miserable. Jonathan Gottman, the psychologist who is known for a lot of work around marriage and divorce. Some of you have probably heard of him. Kate and I did a lot of work with the Gottman Institute when we were getting married. And he has this thing called the 4 horsemen that lead to divorce. Sounds scary, right? It is. And here are the 4 horsemen: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, stonewalling. Criticism says, hey, you're so selfish. This isn't my fault. You're an idiot. It attacks character and it tears down. Contempt is the eye rolling, the sarcasm, the mockery, the name calling. The 3rd horseman is defensiveness. Hey, it's not my fault that you're like this. We just end up blaming the other person. The 4th horseman is stonewalling, where we begin to be like, oh, you're bringing this up now? Now's not a good time. Why do you need a ruin a good night? Or we just lock ourselves in a room and don't speak. These 4 horsemen come from a lack of grace and forgiveness. And these 4 horsemen are direct results of choosing not to see your spouse the way Jesus sees them. To not see their flaws and to not see their potential. When we lose the ability to see our spouse's potential, we lose grace. But here's the opportunity we have in wisdom. Love prospers when a fault is forgiving. Love prospers when a fault is not forgiving, forgiven. But dwelling, it separates close friends. What do we need to do? We need to choose grace. We need to choose to forgive. We need to choose to move on. If you are the person who has that little black book of all the wrong things that you then recite every time you get into a fight with your spouse, I just want to tell you loud and clear that you are not forgiving as Christ forgave you. But we have that opportunity. Why do we fight battles that do not need to be fought in our marriages? We need to choose honor, we need to choose grace, and we need to choose friendship. This proverb kind of gives a negative example of this, but Proverbs 2, 16 through 17 says, "So you will be delivered from the forbidden woman, from the adulteress with her smooth words." This is the father telling the son how to kind of evade this propensity to cheat on his spouse. "From the adulteress with her smooth words, who forsakes the companion of her youth and forgets the covenant of her God." That word companion there, it's halap in the Hebrew, and it means closest of friends. Things become weaker when you do not have friendship in your marriage. And this is coming from the ancient Near East. Like the wisdom of marriage is befriend your spouse. Like enjoy them, enjoy hanging around with them. Tim Keller says this: in a culture in which women were seen mainly as possessions, to call men to have wives who were their exclusive lovers and best friends disrupted the world's cultural categories. All the marks of friendship, constancy, sensitivity, speaking the truth in love to each other, counseling each other, those things must be present in a marriage. Keller continues, "This is the highest view of marriage possible. In an age when people did not marry for romantic joy or for intimate companionship, Proverbs calls for both." We don't just see this in Proverbs, we see this in other wisdom literature. Song of Solomon 5:16 says, "His mouth is most sweet and he is altogether desirable. This is my beloved and this is my friend." Like, it's okay, husbands, wives, to pursue friendship with your spouse. And guess how friendship happens? With honor and with grace and with truth-telling and with love. You just keep feeding that cycle, and like a flywheel, it begins to spin into friendship, and then suddenly you begin to have fun. Proverbs 15:13 says, "A glad heart makes a cheerful face, but by sorrows of the heart the spirit is crushed." Like, Proverbs emphasizes the importance of a joyful heart and finding pleasure in life and relationships, encouraging people to enjoy the simple things and celebrate the good times. It does it all over the place. Like, a joyful heart is good medicine. Sometimes when Kate and I feel crusty, we're like, you know what we need to do? Go to Taco Bell and then a cocktail bar and have some fun. For those of you who put your nose up at that, we're not going to get along, all right? Love Taco Bell, love cocktail bar, and I have fun doing both of those things. And I could only afford spending a lot of money at one. Taco Bell, that's right. That's exactly right. I get to the cocktail bar, I'm like, "You got Coors?" Man, what a little fun would do. Husbands, here's a little no-charge addendum. Be the chief of fun in your relationship. I feel convicted by this because, like, I'm really driven. I like to get stuff done. My wife's the same way. Our house is normally like A to B to C to D. Let's get things done. Let's do things. Let's get everything moving. Let's make sure that we have everything in a row. Hey, here's what I feel convicted of. Like, let me just like date my wife really well and have fun with her, because that actually like builds our friendship together. So I want to choose honor, choose grace, choose friendship. We also want to choose intimacy. The way we're going to have intimacy is if grace, honor, and friendship are in line. Like true intimacy. Proverbs 5:18 and 19 say this: Let your fountain be blessed and rejoice in the wife of your youth, a lovely deer, a graceful doe. By the way, it's kind of funny to call your wife a lovely deer or a graceful doe. I do it sometimes in my home, and Kate doesn't think it's funny ever, but it's still funny. I am the chief of fun now, guys. I just told you that, so I'm going to continue to do that. Continuing, let her breasts fill you at all times with delight. Be intoxicated always by her love. Listen here. God created marriage and gifted marriage with intimacy and with sex. Like some churches, this is taboo. You don't talk about it. And culture will give you the idea that marital intimacy wasn't God's idea. They don't know how to do it. See stats, right? Sexual generosity. Thanks, Brad, right? Here's the thing. God's not a killjoy. God is not looking to steal from you. He's saying in the marriage covenant, enjoy one another fully and be intoxicated. This means to be drunk on the love of your spouse. Like there's a way, like we're not talking about like alcohol drunk. We're talking like alcohol drunk, you have no self-control. In a controlled way, you could be amazed at your husband and your wife, and you could enjoy one another fully and freely. And I don't want to mistake sexual chemistry for real intimacy. It is only when you learn to stick with each other through thick and thin, through everything, when you learn to honor and repent and forgive when wronging each other, that rich intimacy then grows. And then guess what happens? Keller says this, then sex becomes the celebration of your life together. It's not cheap. Like if you're doing this outside of the context of marriage, here's one thing you'll never get from here, and here's one thing you won't get from Jesus either. Shame. Like you need to be some gross mess that we want nothing to do with. No. Jesus says, come. Like I don't care who you are, come. You're not gonna get shamed from me, but let me tell you this, you're shortchanging yourself if you are giving yourself to other people for cheap pleasure rather than heartfelt, passionate intimacy. This is the gift of God for married couples. That is beautiful and good and rich. I remember when I was getting married, I was engaged at 20, and my one buddy's like, man, you're gonna sleep with one woman for the rest of your life? And I was like, yeah, dude. He's like, man, you're missing out. And here's what is true. I say this to every couple that I do premarital with. You're gonna get to a point where you've experienced everything you wanted to with this person who you're now in covenant with. And you're gonna come to the edge of this cliff and you're gonna need to choose to jump and let love grow deep. And it's when you jump, it's when you fight and you honor and you show grace and you speak truthfully to one another and you build friendship that intimacy begins to just rage like a fire. This is God's gift to married people. And married couples, we need to be on guard about counterfeits. If you want to know more about that, read chapter 5, but I don't have time to go into that right now. Here's the beauty for all of us. All of us. Like we talked about choosing somebody, then we talked about how do we continue to choose our spouse if we are married. And then here's the thing, for those of us who believe God has chosen us, there is a hopefulness that marriage points to that we need to open our eyes to. Marriage, yes, is all about choosing one another, diligently showing love and allowing for mistakes. And in the same way, yet in a perfect way, Jesus Christ pursues us with his love because he's chosen us and he keeps choosing us. He's chosen us, and he keeps choosing us. He diligently lavishes us with his grace, loving us and allowing for our mistakes. Jesus himself is a groom. He desires and passionately seeks after his bride, his people, the church. Jesus loved his bride so much and chose to be in relationship with her so much that he sacrificed himself on a cross so that we may live the life we were made for. One that is not chained to sin, not going our own way, but one that brings him glory and unveils our created purpose. Meeting our need cost him everything. That's a note for the husbands in the room. meeting the need of our spouse costs him everything. We looked at the example of Jesus for how we lay it all down on the line for our wives and our children and our home to flourish. It is your job to lay it on the line, men. Like for all of the good things that women bring to the table in marriage and all the gifts, they are not just like some like second thought in a marriage. Men, you are charged in light of Christ to lead and to lay it down for your family. Meeting our need cost Jesus everything. And he sacrificially gave it all so that we could in return have it all. Marriage is a picture of Christ's love for us, friends. We can't understand marital love until we understand God's perfect love for us in Jesus. So here's where I want to land. Proverbs tells us, fools, they don't learn and they don't see their folly, but the righteous are rewarded in good. We've been given some wisdom here, imperfectly, but from the perfect scriptures. You need to choose which path you will take. If you are single in here, it is okay. You're not a second-class citizen here at this church. We actually value you and love you, and we need you. But if you're looking for a spouse, keep growing in wisdom. If you're not looking for a spouse, great. You should also keep growing in wisdom. Then you might get some people on your tail, though, because they're like, they don't want a spouse, but they're wise. You got to watch out. Married people. Hey, I talked to my wife maybe it was a month ago now. And I had to repent of a bunch of just like low-grade things that have existed probably for 6 months. And I was just like, I had to apologize to her. And one of the things that I thought about it, and one of the things I shared with her is like, I want to get to the end of our marriage. And I want her to be, like, I'm inevitably going to die earlier than her probably, all right? Because like my sodium intake's real high and I love Taco Bell. But like I want her to be able to say, Rich, I would run this all back with you. This is idealistic. Like I actually had to repent because I'm like, some of this isn't in line for this to even be something you would think. But I want to be able to say, Rich, I'd run it all back with you. I'm a better woman because of you, and I love Jesus more because of you. Like, and I want to be able to say the same to her. Like, I just want us to get to the end, and for her not to be like, oh, he's dead. I could breathe. And that's kind of funny, but it's also how a lot of marriages are. Like, kids leave the house, and then the marriage is dead because all the effort was poured into their children. They don't even know each other anymore. People get to the end of their lives and they're like, this person's too much of a pain. I've been dealing with this for decades and I'm over it. That does not need to be our way, married friends. It's going to require hard work. We're going to have hard seasons, but let me just encourage you that you made a choice. Keep choosing. You made a choice. Keep choosing. Start by honoring. Grow in your grace. Build that friendship. Grow in intimacy. Never thought you'd hear from the platform of a church, go have sex. Married couples, do it. And if you want to, like, open up the book of Proverbs and read it together for the next month. I think you'd benefit if you ask God for wisdom, because in James, the New Testament, God says whenever you ask for it, he's going to give it to you. Take him at his word. For those of you who are struggling in your marriage, let me encourage you to seek God for the same reason that I just said. Seek God in your individual life and ask for God's help and ask for his wisdom, because he gives wisdom to those who ask. If you're in a period of struggle, there's couples in here who have struggled. You know how much counselors are talked about in the book of Proverbs? And I'm not talking about therapists. I'm talking about like good friends who could give you counsel. I'm not anti-therapy. In fact, that might be a good direction for you. But I'm saying if you're in a hard season, like do the work of seeking God for wisdom Do the work to seek him for wisdom, and he will give it. But also, you've been given so many plays just today. Start honoring, start choosing grace, start choosing friendship. And other spouse, if your spouse starts doing that, and you're like, oh, you're just doing that because the sermon this morning, shut up. That's the Spirit of God working in your spouse. And if you're hurting today and things are tough and the spark is alive, we're really gifted with like some couples who love each other and love Jesus in this church who would love to like buy you dinner, who would love to spend a little bit of time with you and just encourage you. Because guess what? Like I've only been married coming on 12 years, but there's been high highs and some low lows. But like in those low lows, we needed other people. And we needed to seek God for wisdom. So do that. Let's pray. God, we love you and we thank you. We thank you for wisdom. We thank you for your kindness. Would you meet us today, Lord, and help us not just to run from the invitations that you've given us today, but help us to dive in and pursue you, God, the wise one who promises to shed wisdom on those who seek him for it. Amen.